We continue pre-seasoning here on ACC Baseball Etc. Conversations with each of the 14 head coaches in the Atlantic Coast Conference. ACC Baseball Etc. is presented by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. Go to pitchlogic.com for more information. The season will be here before we know it. I'm Daron Vaught. Glad you're here, and I'm happy to be joined by the head baseball coach at Pittsburgh. Mike Bell is my guest today. And Mike, you're entering year number 6 with this program. What's different now than year 1 at this time of year?
Everything. everything from the roster to what we walk into every day from a facility standpoint, but also the individuals that walk into the coaches' offices. We've been really fortunate and had some great coaches in our first 5 years here that have gone on and accepted some head jobs or jobs closer to their hometowns. And it was really a big part of the foundation, I feel like, that was built when we came in here 6 years ago. And that accompanied with some guys getting the opportunity to sign professional contracts, earning not only bachelor's degrees, but master's degrees or certificates during the COVID years of extra eligibility. But there's a lot of new things going on here in Pittsburgh. But I think one thing is consistent, the way that we operate on a day-to-day basis and how we strive for excellence on the field as well as off the field.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And I think that's a common observation about your tenure there at Pitt. I wanted to maybe save this for later, but because we're talking about sort of the big picture, how do you feel like you generalized and said everything is different? If you would, dig in for me a little bit more the culture piece, because you get a handful of years in with the program and it just feels like, okay, this is probably right around the time that, with some success, obviously, in the lead up to this is where things come into focus and they tend to stay in focus. And I'm looking at like off-season hires or additions to your staff, maybe is the better word, in that Jack Anderson, former player for you, as recently as last season, is back. He's going to be your director of baseball operations. Sky Duff, who is, he epitomizes Pitt baseball over the past handful of years. He's hanging around. Matt Gilbertson is a director of player dev. That's just, it seems to me that we're in the business where that sort of thing happens to programs that can build and define and sustain a consistent model culture, right? What are your observations about what you guys have been able to build there?
I think one of the biggest terms that was used in our early years was expectations. And I think we set the expectations the only way that I know how to do it, and it's at a high level. It's doing things right. It's competing for championships. There's just an expectation in how we go about our daily habits. And I think when you can get that going through your program, it carries over onto the field, how they handle personal situations. But to the gentleman that you spoke of, Jack Anderson, Matt Gilbertson, Sky Duff, to me, it shows that they want to continue to be here and be involved, but they see the growth and the excitement and the things that are going on here. And these are guys that want to make this part of their journey in life. They want to make this a role, a career. The expectation that we set, year 1, I don't know how things were done before I got here. I only knew how to do it our way. And our coaching staff, myself, we put that program in place and we continued to grow and build on that. Wins and losses are going to come and go. I can remember our first year, I don't want to say it was like beating North Carolina at home. And getting a handshake from an administrator off the field, like, oh, great win, this and that. And I'm like, no, we just lost a series. Like, that's not good enough, or something. Like, our expectations are to do more. And I think the day that you're not doing that, you need to go find something else to do. But we feel like we've done some good things. We've put our guys in position for some great memories, to create some success, not only on the field, off the field, like I said, opportunities in professional baseball. But more importantly, we've done a great job of preparing these guys for life after baseball. And it's really neat to see, like you said, the Jack Andersons, the Scott Duffs, and Matt Gilbertsons. Those guys want to continue to be a part of it and continue to pass on some legacy of what we're building here.
Yeah, and I'm going to preface the rest of the conversation with it's a given how much we appreciate you on this show, because we feel like you truly are an ACC guy, significant time at Florida State prior to being the head guy at Pitt there. I'll use that to broaden my next question. The development of this league is something that we have observed. Quite frankly, Mike, it's the reason for this show even existing and being part of the D1 Baseball Podcast Network. In what ways do you think it has grown, baseball in the ACC, since even starting at your tenure at Florida State, since you've been in it?
I remember playing in 94, 95 when Florida State first started with the league. And as players, you kind of knew, okay, hey, this is 2 out of 3 this weekend. We're going for the sweep. And we knew back in the day, like, if we swept somebody, we're getting Dairy Queen blizzards on the way home on the bus ride from Chip Baker, the big shooter down there at Florida State. But that's just the way the league was. It was kind of top heavy. It was tier heavy. In my coaching career, starting out SEC, Big 12, coming back to the ACC, you started to see some transition. You started to see more investment in programs, and you saw some changes. When I was an assistant at Florida State, it just wasn't a given every year. And with Louisville coming to the league, and then Pitt coming to the league, and Notre Dame, and the development of Duke and Wake Forest and these other schools, and you still had your Virginias, your Miami weekends, but from top to bottom, the level of coaches, there's phenomenal head coaches in this. I mean, Danny Hall, Brian O'Connor, and Jim Morris were just inducted into the ABCA Hall of Fame a week ago. 3 ACC legends. Danny Hall is the most wins out of any active head coach in college baseball right now. And I just had the pleasure of sitting next to the GOAT and learning from him, and kind of just being there, trying not to screw things up down the stretch in a couple runs to Omaha and some successful years that we had there. It's one of the things that when I took on this challenge, as I studied some of the other teams in the league, Wake, and what Tom has done there, what Chris has done at Duke, where they started, what they were able to do from a postseason, what Notre Dame's been able to do when Link took over there before going to Florida State. This league provides opportunity. If you can survive the grind of the league, you are suited for an Omaha run, just like anybody else in the country. And when you see the depth and the opportunity that this league has provided, from BC to Notre Dame to anybody else up and down, that's why this challenge, to me, was kind of a gold mine waiting. And what a better time for me and my family, the opportunity to do it. We've done a lot of first-time things here in this program, from rankings, back in, I think it was 21, to consistent trips to the ACC tournament. Again, this league's going to prepare your guys for the highest level of baseball. But definitely there has been a severe change from 94, 95 of winning an ACC conference tournament in Greenville, South Carolina, to what it looks like now in downtown Charlotte, and games being on TV. A lot of great memories. I have a lot of great teammates that we laugh about the bus trips and some of the fields we used to play at. I think Virginia used to have the the old football turf on the infield and then had grass outfield. I used to take ground balls at first, and there's like an old 30-yard line emblem behind first base there. So things have definitely changed over the years.
I'm gonna bring up one follow-up question, and then we'll get into your current edition of the Panthers as we're excited for the 2024 season. You talk about coaching with 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've had some time as a head coach there at Pitt, what as you reflect on the past 5 years and maybe, look ahead to the future, what would you say is the most Mike Martin thing about Mike Bell, the head coach?
Oh, wow. I don't know if there is something, because you can't replicate him. The consistency that was there, I think there was a graphic at one point in time. It was like 40 years of 40 wins or more. You had the old ESPN special 30 for 30, and there was a graphic that said 40 for 40. And it was kind of black and white, and he's kind of looking over with his shades down. And it was almost like, you guys got no shot at this now. But I tried to take as much as I could from him. You'll hear a lot of people talk about how they just enjoyed conversations. And I'll say this, he treated everybody with a true, genuine demeanor. That's just who he was. When it came down to it, I think he was ahead of his times in a lot of things. When it came to from the pitching side of things, you had a period where everybody was sinking it. And then he loved the elevated fastball. Well, you look at it now, what's going on? Because of launch angles, everybody's wanting guys that have induced verticals. You talk about high spin rate with pitchers nowadays and stuff. He could look at it and tell you, that's a good breaking ball. What do you need to tell me? The spin's good. Of course it is. It's a good breaking ball. It's a swing and miss. But, one of the things he used to always kind of say, and it's one of the biggest things I took with me, and it's kind of like a Yogi Berra term kind of thing, but he just said it in his way. You have to get them to do what you want them to do. For me as a pitching coach, I thought it was throw more strikes, develop a third pitch. But running a program, it was everybody, making sure everybody's invested the right way. And he had a gentle way of getting people to do what he wanted them to do. But it's the ticket takers, it's the field guy, it's the sports information director. It's everybody from the academic support to life skill support, getting everybody to do what you want them to do. And really, more importantly, just doing it to the highest level. He cared so much about his players, his program, but more importantly, the people around that gave support to his program. Because we all know this isn't a one-person job. This is all about the program, which is all about the student athlete and the players.
Yeah, that's really well said. Appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for intuition in a coach, and that man, he had it in spades.
Everybody talked about their offense for years with the on-base percentage and everything. And, they draw so many walks or so many hit by pitches. And then next thing you know, you got Moneyball coming around, and everybody's understanding more opportunity to score runs when you have more people on base. He was kind of ahead of it. I looked at it as a positive from our competition and pitching side. And something we stress here is if our hitters are more disciplined, then it's going to make our pitchers throw more strikes. So when you have internal competition through the fall, through the early preseasons, those type of things, how can we challenge each other in those ways? And it's something that we've strived to do here. When I say this, we've drawn our share of walks and on base over the years. We just got to make sure we capitalize at the right time.
Yeah. Let's get into this team, Mike.
Yeah.
We talked about guys coming back in different roles who aren't going to be able to play first base or whatever for you. What do you like about your 2024 squad? I think every coach is at least cautiously optimistic at this time of year. What do you see in this team in terms of its potential?
Well, I think everybody's always got potential. Everybody's always starting out undefeated, so everybody's all happy. We know that. And nobody really wants to divulge what they really think they have. It's all about opportunity. And when you look at what we've done the last 2 years, I think it was 13 and 14 guys each of the last 2 years earning some sort of degree, bachelor's, master's, certificate. So there's been a lot of attrition. With that being said, I think one of the guys that really has continued to develop last year and shown strides during the fall, our catcher, Jaden Melendez. Great bloodlines there. Brother's a big leaguer right now. Dad, longtime college coach. Really understands the game and has really done a great job in the last year about how to prepare and go about his work each and every day. Great teammate, but really bringing his game each and every day. And it's just something that young athletes have to learn how to do. If we're going to get better, we just can't show up game day. We got to prepare. And he's really taken his game forward. You know, he's a double-digit home run guy for us, but he works really extremely hard with our pitching staff. But I really like what he's shown with his ability coming back. CJ Funk has been a power threat for us. He's, you know, a lot of people don't know this. He was recruited to play Division I football. Turned down opportunities to play Big Ten football close to home on the other side of the state. I won't mention the school because we don't talk about them. No, but CJ, again, on pace to graduate this year. Just a great teammate, a great leader by example. Brings that football hard-hitting contact mentality to the game. But also, you know, he's going to take what's given to him, but we're expecting continued growth. He impacts the ball like none other. You know, really two other returners offensively would be Don Popa, which we've always kind of joked. You always need more Popas. You know, our dad played here years ago. Nico was a great player for us. And then Dom is going to be wrapping things up here this year. So he's going to play a pivotal role for us in the outfield. And Anthony LaSala, who was steady Eddie for us at short, who's going to be competing with some guys on the left side of the infield there and continuing to grow his game. But offensively, when you look at it, the Sky Duffs, the Jack Andersons, the Kyle Hesses, these guys that have been mainstays in our lineup for the last couple of years, there are some holes to fill there. Luckily, nowadays, instead of just going junior college route and developing freshmen, you've got the availability to add some portal pieces, and we've done that.
Yeah. Talk to me about those portal additions. Who are going to be some of the new faces in the lineup that are going to look? I'm not asking you to put pressure on any player in particular, but you know, if a guy was brought in to contribute, chances are he knows of that expectation. So who are those who are looking to make an impact in their first year in your program? Yeah,
I think one of the things that we've had a niche are some guys from the area maybe that have gone off to a mid-major Division I, have that extra year eligibility, already graduated. They want that ACC experience or that ability to come back home and play in front of the home crowd. And Tyler Bishke's that lead guy there. Definitely going to be an impact guy in the middle infield for us. He hate to say he defines Pittsburgh, but he's a grinder, you know, and he's battled some injuries through his careers. He's back healthy, puts together great at-bats, has a great demeanor with his teammates, comes to work every day. But he's that Pittsburgh, you know, Sky Duff type guy in the infield there. But love having him around in a short time. It's funny, like the JC and the transfer guys, sometimes you just wish you had them 4 years instead of the 1 or 2, but he's definitely one of those guys. Luke Cantwell is a gentleman that's coming to us with some offensive numbers. Should impact either first base, DH role, power bat from the left side, discipline to all fields, really, really good with the strike zone. Josh Spiegel is a local guy that started off at that other school over on the east side of the state, got his degree, can fill a void behind the plate, first base, DH, but it's a power number with some physicality there. Jake Kendrow is an infielder that transferred from the University of Tennessee. Just grew up just east of here over in the Johnstown area. So the availability to get him back closer to home. And he filled in for their shortstop, I believe, when he was out early in the year last year at Tennessee as a freshman. Very athletic, very rangy. Should fill in that void somewhere on the left side. He's got to cut down the strikeouts a little bit, but there's some serious power there as well. Those are a couple guys. There's a few other ones that are going to fill in. Turner Grau from Youngstown State is a long, lean, athletic, pro-style build in the outfield that started out at Youngstown State, local guy finishing up here. Josh Fogel was a D3, I think, batting crown champion, hit like 497 in D3, that just constantly puts good barrels on the ball. Again, left field catcher, DH. So there's some options with pieces. That's not even getting into the young guys that are continuing to grow and develop. So I think one of the things as we get into the season that we've talked about offensively is, I think in the past we've kind of had the same lineup each and every week. And I think you're going to see some different pieces early on where guys are going to get some opportunities to kind of see where some dust settles. And it's not a situation where, I like to use football terms, where if you have 4 quarterbacks, you really don't have a quarterback. This is an opportunity where you have some depth here and some guys that have done different things. We got to find what fits best for the lineup and moving things in the way that we want to play.
Yeah, man. As I hear you talk about your additions, Mike, I just love the way you guys prioritize local talent. And I don't know if that's a heavy emphasis or more of just a product of circumstances for you guys, but it just plays into that the identity of the team piece, right? I mean, Pittsburgh is known as blue collar as it gets. That's kind of the way your team has been built and has played the past several years. I just love that identity piece for you guys.
If you've never been to the city of Pittsburgh, if you've never lived in the area, and it's one of the things besides opportunity and potential here, the people here are unbelievable. And it's one of the things that I gravitated to, not only the administration, but the support of former Pitt alumni. They're so proud of the Pitt script, the fact that they came from. So these individuals that grew up around this area, that go off, have some experiences, when they have the opportunity to come back, it's about people. And these student athletes, like you said, they understand the culture of what it is here. We like to use the term 75 and sunny. It's not always 75 and sunny here. We do have sunshine here today and it's bright, but I know this from a mindset, we're going to be 75 and sunny and we're going to get our work done. So, but they understand what this area is about, what the people are about, like you said, and it kind of is part of their DNA.
Yeah, that's so cool. So that's a great breakdown of the lineup. It sounds like some really encouraging pieces for you and your staff to work with and machinate in various ways until you find what works. Let's go to the pitching side. I had your guys' series at Duke last year.
Okay.
And was massively impressed with Jack Sokol. So he's a name that as I sift through this roster, it's like, okay, he's back. That's big for them. What does the rest of the staff look like with the understanding that things are fluid and anything can change, but if the season starts today, what's that look like for you guys?
And I'm glad you mentioned Jack first, because I've always said this about junior college transfers. It's a tricky recruiting cycle. If you get the guy, or if the guy does what he's supposed to do when you recruit him in junior college, more than likely he's probably going to be too good and sign pro.
Yeah.
But you don't want the guy that just went totally backwards, because then you're retooling a guy. But if you're bringing an older junior college guy in, you're expecting him to pitch. Jack was kind of that tweener coming out of junior college, but like you said, developed and continued to grow. But the one thing I've always really felt like, if you get the JC arm to campus, if you can get him for 2 years, I really feel like that second year they take the next step. And his experience of what he went through last year, you saw him against Duke. He had some games that he definitely, learned some lessons in. Ironically, I think we were the only team to shut out Wake Forest last year in the whole country. Like, they got shut out one time last year. It was a Friday night. Jack Sokol versus, I believe, Hartwell, they're started. Like, he has the ability, but more importantly, he's got experience underneath him right now. And what it's like to pitch against a Wake Forest lineup at Duke, Notre Dame. The experiences that he had are only going to propel him as he's continued to sharpen his pitches. But that confidence level, he's going to be in the rotation. I really think like early on, there'll be some piggyback situations for our guys. But he's going to be one of those mainstay guys, and he's continued to prove that in his fall development. We lost Logan Evans last year, draft pick to the Mariners, which was with us for a couple years there. So really coming back, Jack gave you the most, I want to say, quality innings from a starting pitcher standpoint. A couple of the guys that have taken steps forward for us, we had a portal pickup in Ryan Andrade. I think he's a name you're going to hear a lot about from the University of Rhode Island. Was used more as a, I want to say, setup or closer guy for them. They tried starting him a little bit. He did a little bit of both in the summer league. We're going to try to build him up as a starter early on, more likely, and then kind of see where this goes. But it's high-end stuff. It's got strikeout material. It's a matter of just, can we manipulate through the lineup a couple times and conserve our pitches versus using a leverage situation twice a week. So we'll see how that goes. Ryan Reed pitched a little bit for us in the bullpen as a freshman last year. Ryan went off to the Valley League. I believe he was either first or second in the league in strikeouts in the regular season, had a great summer. Big, projectable left-hander, athletic, moves well. It's a tough angle into right-handers away from left-handers. If he continues his growth the way it is, maturing on the mound and shows the poise, I think he's a guy that's going to factor in as well. Ethan Fireved pitched a lot for us as a crafty lefty last year, made strides in the fall. He could be either an opener or a second guy on a weekend basis. Kyle Mosley, who pitched a lot for us last year, same thing, could be an opener / second guy. There's a freshman by the name of Aiden Coleman. Aiden's from Texas, really pounds the strike zone, multiple pitches. Again, it's a freshman. Got to see whether it's midweek or weekend type stuff, but he's going to get a workload that's going to allow him to extend some things out, and he's earned that role. So those are some of the guys on the front end. In the middle to the back end of the game, which has been a strength of us or for the last couple of years. We've done a good job of, when games are intact, we've got the lead moving into the 6th and 7th. We've had enough guys or bullets on the back end to finish things off by pounding the strike zone, putting guys away, making defensive plays, making it tougher for the opponents by not providing the free passes. I think of Dylan Simmons and Barron Stewart and Nash Bryan the last couple of years. Those guys were workload guys for us coming out of the bullpen. And Matt Fernandez is one of those guys that can swing. He can be a back-end guy, could be a middle guy, could be a starter guy. But he's going to pitch in high leverages for us. There's a lot of experience there. He did it last year for us. He'll continue to do it again, and he'll pitch in any role. He's just such a great teammate. He's such a gamer. He just loves to compete and play the game of baseball. And then we go to the portal side of things. We picked up Phil Fox. Phil Fox coming to us from Gardner-Webb. He's one of those local guys that we talked about, like on the offensive side, that he's got some high-end stuff that could really excel coming out of the back end of the pen. And he wanted to come back home. He wanted to pitch for the University of Pittsburgh, and we were really excited to get him during the summer. Richie Dell is another young man that's got a grad year left, had a successful career at Kent State, that really valued the education component here at Pittsburgh and wants to really pitch at a high level here. And I think he's got the makings of doing some good things for us, kind of like a Fernandez in a swing role. Ben Covell comes to us as a portal transfer, experienced bullpen piece. So those are some of the guys. Rubio Candelario still back with us. He'll fill a role at some point. And then we've picked up some other pieces in there too. Ryan Partridge is an experienced left-hander, situational guy from that other school. Again, a local guy that wanted to come back home. Matt Porter was a valuable junior college piece for us that's going to get his first opportunity at ACC play. So we feel like there's a good 14, 15 piece, not even mentioning some of the freshmen, that is going to allow us to, and I don't want to say piggyback games, but really provide opportunity for guys to develop roles one of the things we've always preached, let's be just as strong in May and June as we are in February and March. Let's give a lot of opportunity, build a lot of guys the correct way, give them small pieces to build success. So when we're playing our best baseball at the end of the year, our most important time, that we can make sure we're using a lot of guys and not just the 4 to 7 guys.
Yeah, if nothing else, Mike, it's just like it's flexibility early, right?
Yes.
And then that you can be molded, or it manifests itself into whatever the staff is going to look like, hopefully, right? If things go right pretty early on in the season, and you can just carry that on through. That's a really good breakdown. Appreciate you digging in and offering all of that. I want to talk about the schedule. Look, I mean, like, you get it, being in the Northeast, and you know, other league teams like Boston College go through sort of the same thing. You guys aren't at home until what, the last, it's a leap year, so not the last day of February, and that's a midweek against Youngstown State, and then you guys are back on the road. What's it like putting a schedule together for a team up there, just sort of knowing that, you know, the majority of February, early March, even in some cases, you're going to spend most of it out and about on the road and not at your home venue?
Yeah, I'm not to say it's a challenge. As a coach, you better know some people in some different areas. One of the words of advice I've got early on, taking over the head job, was from another coach from the North. He said, when you go south to play other teams from the North. Don't go south to play teams from the South. So when I say that, usually first weekend, we're usually in Florida. Everybody knows that's where I'm from. But the availability to get out in the sunshine on some good fields and maybe compete against somebody else that really has been either outside the same amount of time as us or not been outside like us. Luckily, we have wonderful facilities here. As I talked about, 75 and Sunday, we can do just as much inside and really dig deep into the fine detail of things and really prepare our guys. And I really feel like in all 5 years previously, we've always been prepared for day one. We've kind of gone off the grid this year, you know, playing, and I've really focused on trying to get into some professional parks. We're going to Corpus Christi, Texas, which is a AA, AAA park, I believe, for the Astros that played there years ago. In my years at Oklahoma, we went down and played. Ironically, we ran into Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer from UCLA, so that was an experience. But a beautiful ballpark, beautiful setting down there. Competition is going to be phenomenal. I believe we got Washington, Maryland, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. Scott Malone does a phenomenal job with his program. So it's going to be a great experience for our guys there. Weekend 3, we're going to Vegas. We're going to play against Cal, new ACC team for next year. I'm hoping we could get some retro wins there. We played them 3 times last year at our place, but Michael New does a phenomenal job at their program. You know, and we've got Cal, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And that's going to be a really exciting weekend. Again, a AAA ballpark, great venue. Providing experiences for the student athlete is something that we talk about here. You know, we always play at least 1, if not 2 games a year in PNC Park here, which I arguably is one of the best ballparks in the big leagues.
Oh man, so you're just like, from a broadcast standpoint, from that booth, you're not going to find a better view.
Just the setting.
Yeah.
You know, you think about some of we talk about some of these Pittsburgh Yinzers, like they grow up, and for them to get at bats or get on that mound and play on that field, it's a lifetime memory. So I'm hoping some of these atmospheres in Corpus or Vegas are going to be things that they talk about. I can remember years ago going to Hawaii and playing, or Arizona as a college player, and like, you know, sometimes you might not ever get back to these places, but you can provide experiences for these guys. But I feel arguably this schedule, from a strength of schedule standpoint, opponent might be the toughest that Pittsburgh's ever seen. We know the quality of the league, but as you said, some of the venues there that we've and some of this happens 2-3 years in advance. You really don't know who you're going to get. But we were looking for great opportunities and great venues to put our guys in with some great experiences there. So It does become a challenge. You have to really be careful how you manage recovery, how you manage body workloads in those early weekends. Whereas some teams, I'll say this, have the opportunity to play 3 on the weekend, 1 midweek, and kind of get in that schedule moving forward, where we're not going to play midweeks those first couple of weeks because of the weather. We've got to make sure we maximize what we do on the weekends. So like the Texas A&M Corpus Christi weekend, we go 4 games in 4 days. So we usually try to, sneak a 4th one in there, but handling the travel, you know what, I think once you get there and it's game day and you get across the lines, you forget about the coming and the going. I think you're just looking to create memories and see new places.
Yeah. The Vegas event, by the way, is put on by Peak Events, which is a partner of ours here at D1 Baseball. They aim to make it, and I love this for you guys, in addition to the experience and the trip and all of that stuff that you're talking about, they aim to make it regional-like, which as an early season event is so cool for starters, but can also be hugely beneficial to a team with NCAA tournament aspirations.
I think it prepares your guys as you're getting ready for that grind of your conference schedule as well. I remember a couple of years ago we played in a tournament down against Campbell. I think it was in Piedmont, and it was Campbell, Ohio State, Army, and us. And you're sitting there going, well, 3 out of the 4 teams were in a regional the year before. Like, this is preparing you, like you said, for postseason baseball. And we're so fortunate. Our third assistant, Devin Mesoraco, longtime big leaguer, I'll never forget, like, his first year with us when we were down. I think it was COVID, coming off the COVID year, and we were opening up at Florida State in conference, and we played a 3-game set down there and played great baseball that weekend, and just the high level of competition, the intensity, this and that. Not because we walked away with 3 wins, but he looked over at me afterwards. He's like, I kind of like this. This is like playoff baseball. And I said, brother, we get this every weekend. This is what college baseball is all about. And it's ironic when we're in our false practice building, I try to tell our young student athletes, like, watch postseason baseball. The bump plays are going to come into play. The situational hitting, the defense, the little things that we focus on every weekend, because we know every game matters. There's so much of a difference between a 56-game schedule and 162. It's not that they don't matter at that level, but everything that you do gets maximized. And it's just neat to see his perspective of, I kind of like this,
Yeah, always cool to compare and contrast, right?
Yeah.
The pro game to the amateur game. That's really, really good stuff. I want to give you kudos for one more thing before we say goodbye today. You mentioned that you guys have accomplished a lot of firsts, a lot of program bests in your time there at Pitt. The fall semester academically for your guys was huge. And again, I just want to give you the platform to talk about that. A 3.30 fall GPA, 33 guys with a 3.0 or higher, 16 with a 3.5 or higher, which is the dean's list, a couple of 4.0s in there. And that is sort of just a continuation of the way you guys have treated it in the classroom as well, with just like the graduation rates that you guys boast. Clearly, again, I know you hesitate to use the word culture. It's cliche, but you want to build something that many people call that word, right? And it's very clearly crystallizing, and it's happening for you guys at Pitt. So again, just like props to you and your staff and your student athletes as well.
The credit definitely goes to the student athletes. It always will. This is always going to be a player's first program. But it also shows the level of support they have here at the University of Pittsburgh. What Heather Like, our athletic director, has done in her short time, not just the transition of branding and coloring and those type of things, but the level of success. And it carries over, when Kenny Pickett and the football team wins an ACC championship, and then the soccer programs are going to Final Four cups, and the volleyball in the national Final Four, I think multiple years in a row. It continues to breed success. And we've always said this is, a student first, athlete second type situation. They got to be able to handle the workload, but they've got to be able to put the time and the effort in. And more, we all know this, like the ones that can really succeed at a high level on that side of things, the baseball stuff comes easy. I mean, that's the fun part of this, what we're doing. But our academic advisors, our life skills program, everything that encompasses the student athlete experience here at the University of Pittsburgh is what makes this place so special. It is cliche, it's culture, but it just kind of breathes and builds itself. And going back to what you first talked about with the Jack Andersons, the Matt Gilbertsons, the Sky Duffs of the world, of them wanting to continue to gravitate and grow within this program and be a part of it. We're just really excited about the future and what we get to do each and every day and how we impact these student athletes' lives.
Yeah, it speaks to your approach from the get-go, from day one there at Pitt. We got a lot of love for you, a lot of respect for you. Me being based in North Carolina, I don't get to see you that often. So hopefully I can get one of these series that you guys play in and we can catch up in the middle of the year. But Mike, so very much appreciate the time. Best of luck this year, and we'll catch up again soon. All right.
Sounds good. Appreciate you having us on, and love to have you up here in the 75 and sunny weather,
Hey, look, I'd love to make it happen. If you know somebody that can do so for me, I'm all in. I'm all in, man.
Sounds good. We appreciate everything you do for ACC baseball.
Of course. Happy to do it. Thanks, Mike.
Take care.